Jake Morrison woke up early that morning. He could not sleep anyway. 3 weeks ago, the first group of people left Earth to live on Mars. It was the biggest thing humanity had ever done. From his room on the space station called Unity 7, Jake could see Earth below. It looked beautiful, like a blue ball covered in white clouds. Humans had finally done it. They built a home on another planet. Jake was drinking his coffee when everything changed. The alarms started screaming. Lieutenant Danny Rogers ran into the command room. His face was white like paper. He looked scared. "Captain, we have big ships, very big. They just appeared around Earth," Danny said. Jake put down his coffee cup and looked at the computer screens. What he saw made his heart beat faster. 37 huge ships were floating in space around Earth. Each ship was much bigger than any human ship. More ships were around Mars and the Moon, too. They appeared without warning. One moment there was nothing, the next moment an entire fleet was there. "Call everyone. Get me the government in Geneva." "Get me everyone," Jake said. Before he could finish talking, all the screens changed. They all showed the same picture. A strange creature stood there. It looked a bit like a human, but had gray skin covered in scales. It had 4 arms. Its eyes were black and cold. "I am Commander Vexer of the Zeltharian Empire," the alien said. The computer translated its words perfectly. That meant their technology was much better than human technology. "Your species now belongs to the Empire. You have 48 hours to give up your weapons. Stop your military. Get ready to work for us. If you fight back, we will kill everyone." This is not a discussion, the message ended. Nobody in the command room said anything. They all just stared at the empty screen. Danny spoke first. "Did that thing just try to make us slaves?" Jake kept staring at the screen. "Get Dr. Palmer here. Right now." Dr. Lisa Palmer arrived very fast. Her dark hair was pulled back quickly. She was the main scientist on Unity 7 who studied aliens. For years she thought about what would happen if humans met aliens. None of her ideas looked like this. "Show me everything," Lisa said. The crew played the alien message again. Lisa worked on her computer for hours. She studied the alien language. She looked at what the creature looked like. She tried to understand their technology. Hours passed. The Earth government held emergency meetings. All military forces went on high alert. Lisa kept working. Finally, she looked up. "Captain, I need to show you something." Jake came to her computer. Lisa had found information from the alien broadcast. Small pieces of data were hidden in the way they sent their message. "The Zeltharians have an empire," Lisa said. "They have conquered 42 different alien species in the last 3,000 years. They always do the same thing. They show up with big ships. They give an ultimatum. They break the spirit of the people. They choose species that have good technology but are not too strong. Good enough to be useful workers, weak enough to control. What happened to species that fought back?" Jake asked. Lisa looked sad. "They destroyed entire planets. But here is the important part. Every species they met either surrendered quickly or was completely destroyed. None of them fought back well. They were all peaceful species, Captain. They ate plants, not meat. They were philosophers and artists. They were advanced but had stopped fighting wars a long time ago." "But humans have not stopped fighting," Jake said. "No," Lisa said quietly. "We have not. We almost did not make it to space because we spent so much time fighting each other. Our history is full of wars. The Zeltharians have never met a species like us. They have no idea what they just started." Jake looked out at the alien ships. They hung in the sky like metal birds waiting to eat dead things. 48 hours. The Zeltharians thought humanity would break down and give up. They thought humans would be too scared to fight. They were about to learn they picked the wrong species. "Danny," Jake called out, "get me a secure line to Earth Defense Command and find out how many nuclear weapons we have in space." The countdown had started, but the Zeltharians made a big mistake. Humans did not break easily. When cornered, humans did not surrender. They fought back with everything they had. All over Earth, people watched the alien message. Some were scared. Some were angry. Governments talked about what to do. Should they surrender to save lives? Should they fight even if they might lose? But something else was happening too. Regular people were not panicking. They were getting ready. Soldiers reported to their bases. Scientists started working on new weapons. Factory workers asked how they could help. Nobody was talking about giving up. In his ship above Earth, Commander Vexer watched human communications. He was confused. Every other species had shown fear at this point. Their radio and television broadcasts were full of panic. Their military forces stopped working. Their governments tried to negotiate, but humans were different. Their communications were encrypted so he could not read them easily. Their military was getting ready for war. Cities were being emptied in organized ways, not in chaos. And strangest of all, human broadcasts showed no fear. They showed anger. One human leader appeared on many broadcasts. A military general named Kate Harrison. She stood straight and tall. Her face was hard like stone. She spoke clearly. To the Zeltharian Empire, you made a mistake coming here. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity does not become slaves. You want a war? You will get one. And when it is over, you will wish you had never heard of Earth. Vexor watched that message 3 times. In 3,000 years of conquering other species, nobody had ever talked to the Empire like that. These humans were primitive. Their technology was not as good. They should be terrified. Instead, they declared war. Back on Unity 7, Jake gathered his crew. Lisa had found more information. Amy Chen, a young tactical officer, was studying the alien ships. Their ships are positioned to scare us, not to fight us, Amy said. Look at how far apart they are. They think we will just give up. If we hit them hard and fast, we can hurt them. We only have a few ships that can really hurt them, Danny said. Amy smiled. We have 173 ships in space. Cargo ships, mining ships, passenger ships, satellites. We can turn every single one into a weapon if we are smart enough. Jake watched his crew change from defenders into warriors. Engineers turned mining lasers into cutting weapons. They changed cargo containers into missiles. Even civilian ships volunteered. Their crews were angry and ready to fight. A message came from General Harrison on Earth. Her face appeared on the screen. Captain Morrison, you are now Admiral Morrison. You are in charge of all human forces in space. Make them sorry they came here. Jake stood up straight and saluted. Yes, General. With pleasure, the 48 hours were counting down. The Zeltharians expected fear and surrender. They expected humanity to break like every other species before them. They had no idea what was coming. Humanity was about to show them what happened when you threatened the wrong species. The aliens wanted slaves. Instead, they were going to get a war. The deadline came at exactly 12 noon Earth time. Commander Vexor sent 3 attack ships toward New York City. His plan was simple. Destroy one city block with perfect aim, show humans what total destruction looked like. Then they would surrender. That was his plan. The 3 alien ships came down through the sky. Their shields were shining and strong. Ground defenses started shooting immediately. Missiles flew up from the ground. Railguns fired. Laser batteries shot their beams. Everything humanity had was thrown at those 3 ships. Nothing worked. The attacks bounced off the alien shields like raindrops on glass. Vexor watched from his big ship in space. As we expected. Their weapons are too primitive to hurt us. Then something strange happened. The 3 ships slowed down. Their shields started to flicker and fade. Emergency alarms went off inside the alien vessels. Commander, his assistant called out. His voice sounded worried. The atmosphere. The air on Earth has too much oxygen. It is causing our ships to rust. The hull is breaking down. Vexor felt worried for the first time. Pull them back. Fix the shields. Before the order could reach the ships, something else happened. From orbit around Earth, long metal rods started falling. They were made of tungsten, a very heavy metal. Gravity pulled them down faster and faster. They were moving so fast they were like meteorites. The first rod punched through the lead ship. The weakened shields could not stop it. The rod went through the hull. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. The second and third rods destroyed the other 2 ships in seconds. Nobody on the Zeltharian flagship said anything. They all just stared in shock. Jake watched the alien ships burn as they fell through Earth's sky. He picked up the communicator. All ships, start Operation Swarm. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity. All around Earth, human ships surged forward. They did not fly in neat formations. They did not follow normal tactics. They moved like a pack of wolves attacking prey. Cargo ships rammed into alien vessels. Mining lasers cut through already damaged hulls. Small fighter ships darted between the big alien ships, moving too fast to track. The space battle was chaos. Human ships were smaller and weaker, but there were so many of them. They swarmed around the alien fleet like angry bees. Every time an alien ship tried to target one human ship, 3 more would attack from different directions. Amy Chen was right. The alien ships were positioned to intimidate, not to fight. They were too spread out to help each other. Their weapons were powerful but slow to aim. They expected an organized military attack. Instead, they got chaos. Vexor watched in growing horror as his fleet took damage. 3 more ships exploded. 2 others were heavily damaged and drifting. 47 Zeltharian warriors were dead. The human fleet, which should have been destroyed in minutes, kept attacking. "Pull back," Vexor ordered. "All ships retreat to high orbit. We need to rethink our approach." The alien fleet pulled away from Earth. They moved to a safer distance and regrouped. Vexor sat on his command chair and tried to understand what just happened. In 3,000 years of conquest, this had never happened before. Species either surrendered or were quickly destroyed, but humans had hurt his fleet. They had won the first battle. "Send a message to the Empire," Vexor said quietly. "Request the subjugation fleet." His assistant looked shocked. "Commander, asking for the subjugation fleet means we cannot handle this ourselves. It will look bad for your record." Vexor turned his black eyes on his assistant. "These are not normal primitives." "Send the request." On Unity 7, Jake and his crew celebrated. They had won. They actually hurt the aliens, but everyone in the room knew this was just the beginning. They got lucky. The alien shields weakened in Earth's atmosphere. Human tactics surprised an overconfident enemy. Those advantages would not work twice. "We bought ourselves some time," Jake said to his command staff. "Now we need to use it." "Lisa, what did we learn from the destroyed ships?" Dr. Lisa Palmer showed them computer images of alien technology. Pieces of hull, parts of weapons, broken computer systems. Her team had been working without rest since the battle ended. "Their technology is amazing," Lisa said, "but it has a big weakness. Everything is connected. Their ships, weapons, and shields all use the same computer network. It makes them work together smoothly, but it creates a problem. If we can get into that network, we can cause a lot of damage." Amy leaned forward. "How do we get into it?" "We need a ship. A working one. And we need to get inside it." The room went quiet. Getting onto an alien ship was basically suicide. The ships were huge and filled with warriors who were born and trained for combat. Amy stood up. "I will lead the team." "Amy, that is too dangerous," Jake started to say. "You need someone who understands tactics and can think fast under pressure." "That is me. Plus, I am smaller than most of your security team. I can move faster. And honestly, I really want to punch some aliens." Jake looked at General Harrison on the video screen. She nodded once. "Okay," Jake said. "But you take the best team we have. And Amy, come back alive." "Always do, Admiral." 2 days later, they found their target. A damaged Zeltharian destroyer was floating near the moon. It had been hit during the first battle and lost power. Another alien ship was towing it back to the main fleet for repairs. It was perfect. Amy put together her team. 6 Special Forces soldiers, 2 computer hackers, Dr. Palmer to study the technology, and herself. They flew toward the alien ship in a small stealth shuttle, staying in the moon's shadow so they would not be seen. The destroyer had a big hole in its side where the kinetic weapon hit it. Amy guided the shuttle toward that hole. "Nice and easy," she whispered. "We do not want to wake anyone up." They connected to the hole in the ship. Amy went in first, her rifle ready. Inside the alien ship was dark except for emergency lights. Strange symbols covered the walls. The air smelled like electricity and something organic she could not identify. "Split up," Amy ordered. "Lisa, find their main computer. Hackers, go with her. Security team, look for any aliens. I will secure the bridge." They moved through the alien ship like ghosts. Lisa found the computer core deep in the center of the ship. It was a glowing ball of crystal technology. The hackers started working immediately. Amy reached the bridge and found it empty. The Zeltharians had taken their crew off the ship, leaving only automated systems. She planted explosive charges on the main controls. If things went wrong, she would rather blow up the ship than let it be captured again. Then Lisa's voice came through her helmet radio. "We are in. Uploading the virus now." The virus was simple but effective. It did not destroy anything or shut systems down. Instead, it created chaos in the Zeltharian network. Random commands. False information from sensors. Conflicting orders. It would spread through their fleet like a disease, turning their biggest strength into their biggest weakness. "Upload complete," one of the hackers said. "The virus is spreading through their network." It will reach the whole fleet in about 12 hours. Then let us get out of here, Amy said. They returned to the shuttle and flew away, leaving the alien ship drifting in the dark. Within hours, the virus started working. All across the alien fleet, ships suddenly changed direction for no reason. Weapons fired at targets that were not there. Communications became garbled and confusing. Commander Vexer watched his fleet fall into chaos. He finally understood something important. These humans were not just warriors. They were problem solvers. They adapted faster than any species he had met. They turned weakness into strength. They found vulnerabilities where none should exist. Worst of all, they were learning. Every fight taught them more about Zeltharian technology and tactics. They were getting stronger while his forces got weaker. His assistant came to him. Commander, the subjugation fleet has left from our home worlds. They will be here in 3 weeks. Can we hold our position until then? Vexer looked at his damaged fleet, at the planet below filled with defiant humans, at the impossible situation he was in. For the first time in 3,000 years of conquest, a Zeltharian commander was not sure if victory was possible. Dr. Lisa Palmer had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red and tired. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago. But she could not stop working. The virus in the Zeltharian network gave her something valuable. She could now access their communication systems. Lisa, Jake said gently from the doorway, you need to rest. I cannot stop now. She pulled up a star map covered in alien symbols. Jake, do you know how many species they enslaved? 42 different civilizations, billions of living beings under their control. And none of them know what we know. What do we know? That the Zeltharians can be beaten. That their empire is not invincible. If we can send that message out, if we can show the enslaved species what fighting back looks like, then maybe they will fight too. Jake understood what she meant. Revolution. Not just on Earth, but everywhere in the galaxy. Can you do it? Jake asked. Lisa smiled. She looked exhausted, but determined. Watch me. She worked all night. She made a transmission that would ride on the Zeltharian network. It was not a message about military victory. It was something more powerful. A message of hope. She showed how humans were fighting back. The destroyed alien ships. The failed attempt to make humans slaves. The determination to stay free no matter what. The message ended with simple words in 42 different languages. You do not have to stay slaves. You can fight back. You can be free. When she sent the transmission, it spread through the Zeltharian network fast. Every enslaved world received it. Every conquered species saw humanity fighting and refusing to give up. On a planet called Kelvar Prime, 200 light-years from Earth, a warrior named Grath heard the transmission. He remembered things his people had forgotten. His species, the Kelvari, had been strong once. They built starships and explored space. Then the Zeltharians came. The Kelvari surrendered to save their civilization. 200 years of slavery followed. Generations were born in chains, forgetting what freedom meant. But Grath remembered the old stories. The warrior codes, the battles his ancestors fought. As he watched humans fighting impossible odds, something inside him woke up. He was not a slave. He was Kelvari. He found others who remembered too. They formed a secret resistance group, meeting in abandoned tunnels under their work buildings. They had no weapons, no ships, no training. But they had anger. And now they had hope. Grath sent a message back through the network. It was encrypted and hidden. It reached Unity 7 3 days later. Jake read it out loud to his team. Humans of Earth, we are Kelvari. We were warriors before we became slaves. Your message reached us. We want to help but have nothing to offer except our lives. Tell us how to fight. Show us how to be free again. Amy Chen stepped forward. I can teach them. Over. The next few weeks, Amy ran secret training sessions across the Zeltharian network. She taught the Kelvari guerrilla tactics, how to damage important buildings and machines, how to make weapons from tools and equipment, how to organize in small groups so that if one person was caught, they could not betray everyone else. Most importantly, she taught them the right way to think. Never fight fair, never give up. Use every advantage, no matter how small. Turn your enemy's strengths into weaknesses. The Kelvari learned fast. They were warriors once. Those instincts had not died. They were just sleeping. All across their world, strange things started happening. Power plants broke down. Shipments disappeared. Zeltharian bosses vanished at night. The same patterns appeared on other enslaved worlds. The Dren were master builders. They started building things with hidden flaws that would collapse months later. The Uriel were information workers for the Empire. They started putting small errors into their calculations. These were small acts of rebellion, but they added up. The Zeltharian Empire had maintained control through fear and power for 3,000 years. Now it was starting to crack. Commander Vexer received the reports with growing fear. Rebellions on 6 worlds, production problems on a dozen more, and at the center of it all, humanity's message spreading like disease through his empire. He stood before a holographic image of Warlord Kraxus. Kraxus was the Empire's enforcer, sent to fix problems that commanders could not handle. Vexer had to listen to his contempt. "You let a primitive species threaten the Empire," Kraxus said. His voice was cold like space. "You let them inspire rebellion across multiple systems. You have failed, Vexer. Warlord, these humans are different from any species we have met. They adapt faster than anything we have seen before." "Enough. I am taking command. The subjugation fleet will arrive in 5 days. We will show everyone how real conquest works. These humans will watch their planet burn. The slave species will remember why they kneel. You will watch and learn how real warriors enforce the Empire's will." The communication ended. Vexer stood alone on his bridge and looked at Earth below. He came here expecting an easy victory. Instead, he started something that might destroy the Empire. The worst part? He was not sure he wanted to stop it anymore. These humans showed him something the Empire had forgotten. That freedom was worth fighting for. That some species would rather die than live as slaves. Meanwhile, on different worlds across the galaxy, more enslaved species were waking up. They saw the human broadcasts. They heard about the resistance. For the first time in centuries or even millennia, they started asking themselves dangerous questions. Why do we obey? Why do we accept this? What if we said no? The Uriel were philosophers before they became slaves. They had spent generations processing data for the Empire. Now they started discussing freedom in their quarters at night. What did it mean? Was it worth the risk? Their ancestors had been peaceful. But peace without choice was not really peace at all. The Dren had built magnificent cities before their conquest. Now they built things for the Empire. Factories, shipyards, stations. They took pride in their work even as slaves. But watching humans fight changed something. Why build for masters? Why not build for themselves? More messages came to Unity 7. Species Jake had never heard of were reaching out. Some wanted advice. Some wanted to share information about Zeltharian weaknesses. Some just wanted to say thank you for showing them that resistance was possible. Jake sat in his command chair and read message after message. It was overwhelming. Humanity had only been trying to survive. They never meant to start a galactic revolution. But here it was, growing every day. "Admiral," Danny said quietly. "Do you think we can actually win this?" Jake looked at the star map showing all the enslaved worlds. 42 civilizations, billions of beings, all of them watching Earth, all of them hoping. "I do not know if we can win," Jake said honestly. "But I know we cannot lose. Too many people are counting on us now. If humanity falls, all those species will give up hope. The Empire will crush the rebellions and be more brutal than ever. We have to hold out no matter what it costs." Lisa came to the bridge with new information. The subjugation fleet is 5 days away. 200 warships. Each one is bigger and stronger than anything Vexer brought. "Jake, I do not know if we can survive this." Jake stood up and looked at his crew. They were tired. They had been fighting for weeks with little rest. Some were scared, but none of them looked ready to give up. "Then we make sure our fight matters," Jake said. Even if we lose, even if Earth falls, we make it so expensive that the Empire never recovers. We make sure every enslaved species sees that we never stopped fighting, that we never surrendered, that freedom is always worth the price." Amy nodded. Danny saluted. Lisa wiped her eyes and went back to work. Across the galaxy, 42 enslaved species watched and waited. The humans had shown them something they thought was impossible. Now they would see if humanity could finish what they started. The biggest battle was coming, and the whole galaxy would be watching. The subjugation fleet arrived like a storm. 200 warships appeared in space around Earth. Each ship was bigger and more powerful than anything in Vexor's original force. They moved into position with perfect precision. Their weapons were powered up. Their shields were at maximum strength. Jake watched them come and felt fear in his stomach. Even with everything humanity had learned, all the tricks and tactics they developed, this force could crush them through sheer numbers. But surrender was not an option. It never had been. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," he sent a message to the human fleet. "Today we face impossible odds. The enemy thinks we will break, surrender, beg for mercy. They think we are like every other species they conquered. Let us show them they picked the wrong species." The response came from 100 vessels, warships, cargo ships, mining craft, even civilian transports that had been armed. Every one of them was ready to fight, ready to die if necessary. Warlord Kraxus spoke to Earth from his huge flagship. He looked similar to Vexor, but harder, meaner. Scars covered his scaled skin. His forearms held weapons even while he made his broadcast. "Humans of Earth." His voice sounded like grinding metal. "I am Warlord Kraxus. Commander Vexor failed to control your species through weakness. I will not make the same mistake. Your cities will burn. Your military will be destroyed. Of your 8 billion people, we will leave 1 million alive as a warning to others. This is not negotiation. This is extermination. You have 1 hour." Jake opened a direct channel to Kraxus. "Warlord, I am Admiral Jake Morrison. We received your message. Here is our response. No. We will not surrender. We will not submit. Come and try to take us." Kraxus's eyes narrowed. "Then you have chosen death." The subjugation fleet attacked. Not with careful probing like Vexor had done. This was overwhelming force meant to destroy resistance immediately. Energy weapons cut through space. Missiles filled the void. The attack was endless and devastating. Human ships scattered and fell back. They followed the plan Jake and Amy made. Not a glorious last stand, but a fighting retreat. Make them chase. Make them spread out. Make every victory cost them dearly. Ships died. Unity 7 took hits that threw crew members across the room. Danny coordinated damage repairs while calling out targets. Lisa watched the Zeltharian network for weaknesses. Amy led teams that boarded damaged enemy ships, broke their systems, and escaped. The battle continued for 3 days. Earth's orbital defenses were destroyed. The moon bases went silent. Mars stopped responding. Humanity was losing. But something extraordinary was happening across the galaxy. The Kelvari rose up, not in small scattered groups but as one unified force. They took weapons from their guards. They captured ships. They fought with fury born from 2 centuries of slavery. Grath led the attack on his world's main shipyard. When Zeltharian reinforcements arrived, they found the facility destroyed and the Kelvari fleet waiting. The Dren destroyed the infrastructure they had spent generations building. Every bridge, every power plant, every transportation hub the Zeltharians used suddenly failed. The Empire's supply network collapsed as routes were cut across 24 worlds. The Uriel had never used violence. They were peaceful philosophers, but they found their own way to fight. They spread information. They hacked computer systems. They turned the Empire's surveillance network against itself. They showed enslaved species everywhere what was happening on Earth, how humans fought, how they refused to give up, how freedom was possible. 42 enslaved species remembered what they had lost, and they decided to take it back. Reports flooded into Kraxus's flagship. Rebellions on every enslaved world, ships destroyed, facilities sabotaged. The Empire was bleeding from 1,000 wounds, Warlord, his assistant reported. We have lost control of 16 systems. The slave species are coordinating their uprisings. Our supply lines are cut. Forces across the Empire are begging for help. Kraxus turned his black eyes toward Earth. The humans did this. Yes, Warlord. Their message spread through our network. They taught the slave species how to fight. They showed them that resistance was possible. Then we make an example so terrible that no species will ever dare resist again. Focus all weapons on Earth's major cities. I want to see them burn from space. A new transmission interrupted him. Commander Vexer's face appeared on the screen. Warlord Craxus, I cannot let you continue. Craxus looked furious. Vexer, you dare to challenge me? The humans were right. Our empire is built on cruelty and fear. For 3,000 years we crushed species and called it order. But humanity showed me what we truly are. Monsters. I will not be a monster anymore. Vexer's ships, what remained of the original conquest fleet, powered down their weapons. They moved away from Earth. But before ending communications, Vexer sent one final message. Not to Craxus, but to Jake Morrison. A data file containing everything humanity needed. Ship positions, shield frequencies, command structure weaknesses. Everything to turn the battle around. Admiral Morrison, Vexer's message said, you taught me something I forgot. That some things are worth fighting for. That freedom matters more than power. End this. Show the galaxy what happens to empires built on slavery. Jake looked at the data, then at his damaged fleet. They were outnumbered and outgunned. Everyone was exhausted, but they had one final advantage. They knew exactly where to strike. All ships, this is it, he broadcast. Vexer gave us the keys to their kingdom. Hit these exact targets. We end this now. The human fleet surged forward one last time. Not retreating, not desperate. This was a coordinated attack. They hit Craxus's ships at their weakest points. Disabled command vessels. Cut communications. Created total chaos. Across the galaxy, enslaved species struck at the same time. The empire that seemed invincible for thousands of years was fracturing. Too many battles. Too much rebellion. Not enough ships to keep control. Warlord Craxus watched his fleet fall apart. He finally understood what Vexer learned. Humanity did not beat the empire through superior strength. They beat it by showing others how to be free. Once that knowledge spread, no amount of force could contain it. Withdraw all forces, he ordered. Return to the core worlds. The subjugation fleet retreated. Craxus's warships jumped to faster than light speed and vanished. They left behind wreckage, damaged stations, and battered human ships. But humanity remained. Bloody, exhausted, but free. Jake stood on what was left of Unity 7. He looked at Earth below. Cities were damaged. Millions had died, but the planet survived. Humanity survived. Admiral, Lisa came to him. We are getting transmissions from across the galaxy. 42 formerly enslaved species. They are forming a group. They want Earth to be a founding member. Danny smiled despite being exhausted. They want us to lead it, right? They call it the Free Worlds Alliance, Lisa said. Species dedicated to protecting each other and preventing slavery. They say humanity earned the right to guide it. Jake thought about that. Humanity had barely reached Mars before the Zeltharians arrived. Now they were being asked to help lead a galactic alliance. It seemed impossible. Then again, everything about the last few weeks seemed impossible. Tell them yes, he said, but make it clear. We are not building an empire. We are building something better. A galaxy where species choose their own path. The war was not over. It would take years to fully break the empire. But the hardest part was done. The impossible had happened. Humanity survived, and they showed the galaxy that freedom was always worth fighting for. 3 months after the subjugation fleet retreated, Jake stood in the rebuilt command center of Unity 7. Through the window, he could see construction crews repairing the station. Earth below was healing too. Cities were being rebuilt. The dead were honored. Life was slowly returning to normal, but nothing would ever be truly normal again. Humanity had changed. They knew they were not alone in the universe. They knew there were threats out there, and they knew they could face those threats and survive. A message came through from the surface. General Kate Harrison appeared on the screen. Behind her, Jake could see representatives from dozens of alien species. The Free Worlds Alliance was holding its first official meeting on Earth. Admiral Morrison, we are ready for you, Kate said. History is about to be made. Jake took a shuttle down to Earth. The meeting was being held in Geneva in a building that once hosted only human diplomats. Now it was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some did not even breathe oxygen and had to wear special suits. But they all had one thing in common. They were free. Grath of the Kelvari approached Jake. He was tall and powerful, built like a warrior. but his eyes were kind. "Admiral Morrison, my people wanted me to give you this." Grath handed Jake a small crystal. "It contains our history, who we were before slavery, who we became during it, and who we are now thanks to you. We will never forget what humanity did for us." Jake held the crystal carefully. "We did not do it alone, Grath. Every species that rose up, every person who said no to the Empire, they are the real heroes. We just showed you it was possible." "That is exactly why we honor you," Grath said. "You showed us the possibility. Sometimes that is the hardest part." The meeting began. Representatives from 42 worlds stood together. They signed the founding charter of the Free Worlds Alliance. It was a simple document with powerful words. No species would enslave another. All members would defend each other. Technology and knowledge would be shared freely. Freedom was a right, not a privilege, but not everyone was celebrating. Reports came in daily about the former Zeltharian Empire. It had fractured into dozens of smaller states. Some were trying to maintain the old ways. Others were reforming. Civil war was breaking out in several systems. Commander Vexer had become an ambassador. He worked with the Alliance, using his knowledge of the Empire to help prevent future conflicts. Many did not trust him. How could they trust someone who had tried to enslave them? But Vexer kept working, trying to make up for his past. Warlord Kraxus was different. He was captured by Kelvari forces and put on trial. Representatives from every enslaved species came to testify about his crimes. The trial lasted weeks. In the end, he was found guilty of genocide and crimes against sapient beings. His sentence was life imprisonment, overseen by members of species he had oppressed. Jake attended the trial. He sat in the audience and watched as victim after victim told their stories. Families destroyed, worlds ruined, generations born into chains. The weight of it was almost unbearable. After the verdict, Kraxus was led away. He stopped when he saw Jake. For a moment, the two warriors looked at each other. Kraxus had thought he was invincible. He had crushed 1,000 rebellions without mercy. But humanity showed him he was not invincible, that even the strongest empire could fall. "You destroyed everything I built," Kraxus said quietly. Jake met his gaze without flinching. "You built it on suffering. It deserved to be destroyed." Kraxus was taken away. Jake never saw him again. Back on Unity 7, life found a new rhythm. The station was now headquarters for the Alliance military coordination. Jake commanded a fleet that included ships from dozens of species. Amy Chen became his second in command, training officers from across the galaxy in human tactical thinking. Dr. Lisa Palmer led a massive scientific exchange program. Human scientists worked alongside Uriel philosophers, Dren engineers, and researchers from species that had technologies humans had never imagined. The sharing of knowledge was creating breakthroughs almost daily. Danny had been promoted to captain and commanded his own ship. He still visited Unity 7 often, bringing news from across the Alliance. One evening, Jake found himself alone in his quarters. He looked at the crystal Grath had given him. When he held it up to the light, it projected images. The history of the Kelvari people. Their rise, their fall, their enslavement, and their freedom. The last image showed a young Kelvari child. She was smiling and playing with other children. Different species, all playing together, all free. The caption said simply, "The future." Jake thought about everything that happened. The fear when the alien ships first appeared. The desperate battles. The losses. The unlikely victories. The galaxy-wide revolution that nobody planned but everyone needed. Humanity did not win through superior technology or overwhelming force. They won by refusing to give up. By showing others that freedom was possible. By proving that even the mightiest empire could fall if enough people said no. A message came through. It was from Mars. The colony there had not only survived but was thriving. They were building new settlements, planning new expeditions. Life was continuing, expanding, growing. Another message came from the Dren homeworld. They were building a monument, a statue showing a human and a Dren standing together, breaking chains. They wanted Jake to attend the dedication ceremony. More messages followed. The Uriel wanted to name their new university after Dr. Palmer. The Kelvari were sending a delegation of young warriors to train with human forces. Species after species reached out, wanting to build connections, share knowledge, create friendships. Jake realized something. The war was not just about survival. It was about proving something fundamental, that sentient beings deserved freedom, that no one had the right to enslave another. that when people stood together they were stronger than any empire. Years would pass. The Alliance would face new challenges. Not every former Zeltharian state would want peace. Pirates and criminals would try to exploit the chaos. There would be disagreements and conflicts within the Alliance itself. But the foundation was solid. 42 species, once enslaved, now free, working together, learning from each other, building a future where slavery was a memory, not a reality. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there on 42 worlds, beings were living free lives. Children were growing up without chains. Dreams were possible again. Earth had become a symbol, not of military might or technological superiority, but of something more important: the refusal to surrender, the determination to stay free, the willingness to help others find that same freedom. The Zeltharians tried to enslave humanity. They thought it would be easy. Just another conquest in a long history of domination. They were wrong, and the galaxy would never be the same. Lisa entered the command center holding a data pad. Jake, we just received a signal from deep space. Another species. They heard about what happened. They are asking for help. Their world is under threat from a different empire. Jake looked at her, then smiled. Tell them the Free Worlds Alliance is on the way. Tell them they do not have to face tyranny alone anymore. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Freedom, once tasted, could never be fully suppressed. People who knew they could be free would always fight for it. And now they had allies. Friends. An entire alliance of species who understood that everyone deserved to choose their own path. The Zeltharian Empire tried to enslave humanity. It did not end well for them, but it ended very well for the galaxy. 5 years had passed since the Zeltharian Empire fell. Jake Morrison stood at the memorial on Earth looking at the names carved in black stone. Thousands of names, humans who died defending their freedom. He came here every year on the anniversary of the first battle. The memorial was not just for humans. There were sections for Kelvari who died in their uprising, for Dren who sabotaged installations and paid with their lives, for Uriel who were executed for spreading information, for members of 42 species who said no to slavery and never got to see freedom. A young girl approached Jake. She could not have been more than 8 years old. She held flowers in her small hands. Are you Admiral Morrison? She asked shyly. Jake smiled and knelt down to her level. I am. What is your name? Maya. My teacher said you saved us from the aliens. Is that true? Jake looked at the memorial at all those names. A lot of people saved us, Maya. I just helped. These people here, they are the real heroes. They fought when they were scared. They stood up when it would have been easier to give in. Every one of them mattered. Maya placed her flowers at the base of the memorial. My dad said the aliens wanted to make us slaves. What does that mean? Jake thought about how to explain it to a child. It means they wanted to take away our choices, make us do what they wanted instead of what we wanted, take away our freedom to choose our own lives. That sounds terrible. It was, but we stopped them. And now we help other species stop it too. Maya nodded seriously. When I grow up, I want to help too. I am sure you will, Maya. The galaxy needs good people. Maya's mother called her away. Jake stood and watched her go. That was why they fought. So children like Maya could grow up free, so they could choose their own futures. His communicator beeped. It was Amy Chen calling from the Alliance headquarters. Jake, we have news. The Dren just launched their first independent starship. They are naming it Freedom. They want you at the ceremony. Jake smiled. Tell them I would be honored. The galaxy had changed so much in 5 years. The Free Worlds Alliance now had 63 member species. Former Zeltharian slaves plus new members who wanted to be part of something better. They shared technology, protected each other, and worked together on problems. Not everything was perfect. Some former Zeltharian states still tried to maintain slave systems. The Alliance had to send military forces 3 times to intervene. There were arguments among members about trade, territory, and resources. Democracy was messy, but it was their mess. They were free to argue, to disagree, to find solutions together. That was the difference. Jake took a shuttle back to Unity 7. The station was much bigger now. Entire sections had been added to accommodate representatives from different species. The corridors were filled with beings of all shapes and sizes, all working together. In the command center, Lisa was working with a team of Uriel scientists. They were developing a new communication system that would work across the entire alliance. translating instantly between hundreds of languages. "Jake, look at this," Lisa called him over. She showed him data on her screen. "We have been studying the old Zeltharian Empire. We found something interesting. They were not always conquerors. 3,000 years ago they were explorers, peaceful. Something changed them." "What changed them?" "Fear. They encountered a hostile species that nearly wiped them out. They became convinced that the galaxy was dangerous, that the only way to be safe was to control everything, to make sure no one could ever threaten them again. So they became the threat." Jake thought about that. So they became what they feared most. "It is almost sad." "It is sad," Lisa agreed. "But it is also a warning. The Alliance needs to be careful. We have power now, ships, weapons, influence. We need to make sure we do not become like them, that we do not let fear turn us into monsters. That is why we have rules, checks and balances, why every species gets a vote, why we help instead of conquer." "I know. I just wanted to remind you. Power changes people. We need to stay vigilant." A message came through from Grath. The Kelvari were celebrating their Freedom Day, the anniversary of their successful uprising. They were inviting representatives from all Alliance species. Jake attended via hologram. He watched as Kelvari warriors performed traditional ceremonies, as children sang songs about freedom, as Grath gave a speech thanking humanity and all the species who fought together. "We were slaves for 200 years, Grath said to the crowd. "We forgot who we were. We forgot we had the power to change our fate. Then humans showed us something important. They showed us that saying no was possible, that fighting back could work, that freedom was worth any cost. We will never forget that lesson. And we will make sure our children never forget either." The crowd cheered. Young Kelvari warriors raised their weapons in salute. It was beautiful and hopeful. Later that evening, Jake sat in his quarters with his command team. Amy, Lisa, and Danny were all there. They were sharing a meal, something they tried to do once a week despite their busy schedules. "Do you ever think about that first day?" Danny asked. "When the alien ships appeared? I was so scared." "We were all scared," Jake said. "We had no idea if we could win, or even survive. But we tried anyway," Amy added. "That is what mattered. We could have surrendered. It might have saved lives in the short term, but we would have lost everything that makes us human. And we would have doomed 42 other species to eternal slavery," Lisa said. "By fighting, we gave everyone hope. We showed them it was possible." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "You know what I am most proud of?" Jake finally said. "Not that we won, but how we won. We could have become conquerors ourselves. We had the chance. We helped defeat an empire. We could have taken their place. But we chose something different. We chose freedom for everyone, not just us. That is the human way," Amy said with a grin. "We mess up a lot, but when it really matters, we usually get it right." They laughed together. It felt good to laugh, to remember that despite everything they had been through, they were still here, still friends, still fighting for what was right. The galaxy would always have challenges. New threats would emerge. There would be conflicts and problems. But the foundation was solid now. Dozens of species working together, protecting each other, building a future where freedom was the norm, not the exception. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, children on 42 worlds were growing up free, learning, playing, dreaming, making their own choices about their futures. That was worth everything they had sacrificed, every life lost, every battle fought, every moment of fear and doubt. It was all worth it for those children who would never know the weight of chains. The Zeltharians tried to enslave humanity. They thought humans would break like every other species before them. They were wrong, and their mistake changed the galaxy forever. Humanity did not defeat an empire through technology or numbers. They did it through sheer stubborn refusal to give up, through showing others that resistance was possible, through proving that freedom was always worth fighting for. And the galaxy learned the most important lesson of all, that no matter how powerful an empire seemed, no matter how invincible they appeared, they could fall. All it took was enough people saying no, enough people willing to fight, enough people who believed freedom mattered more than safety. The Zeltharian Empire was gone. In its place was something better. Not perfect, but better. A galaxy where species worked together, where freedom was protected, where the strong helped the weak instead of enslaving them. Jake Morrison would continue his work. So would Amy, Lisa, Danny, and thousands of others. They would face new challenges, make new friends, build new bridges between species, but they would never forget where it all started. When alien ships appeared in Earth's sky and demanded submission, when humanity looked at impossible odds and said no, when one small species showed the galaxy that freedom was worth any price, the aliens tried to enslave humanity. It did not end well for them. But for the galaxy, for billions of beings across dozens of worlds, it ended better than anyone could have imagined.